He lived a mundane life until the memories flooded back. He was the demon sovereign, the nightmare who leveled nations and crushed armies. Most people would have spiraled into a panic, but he simply shrugged and kept grinding. Zero chills, just pure efficiency. Now he's clearing dungeons, fusing demonic energy with martial arts mastery. But can he contain the darkness before it consumes him? The legend began in modern Seoul, when a massive tower pierced the sky, triggering the first cataclysmic shift in human history. Gates tore open, monsters flooded the streets, and civilization crumbled until the first awakened rose to fight back. Guilds and hunters built a new world order, but just as hope returned, the second cataclysm struck with even more fury. A cosmic war erupted between the radiant realm of Elysium and the hellish depths of Pandemonium. Deimos, the ruthless demon king, led a demonic invasion of Earth only to be met by the divine host of Elysium. Earth became a slaughterhouse. Then a wild card emerged, someone belonging to neither the heavens nor the abyss. The ultimate savior, a legend among heroes, wielded a power that defied all logic and reason. He annihilated the demon king, ending the slaughter and ushering in 30 years of fragile peace. Decades later in Seoul, a young boy gazes in awe at a massive monument in the National Museum of Art. "Look, Mom, it's our hero." Nearby, a friend asks, "Big day, isn't it, Min-chul?" Our protagonist, Min-chul, stands by the statue, scrolling through his phone and dreading another useless group project. Professors really don't get how pointless these assignments are. And on a day off of all times, he watches the crowds with a faint smirk, realizing the museum is absolutely packed with families. It's a total field trip vibe. Every kid there is staring at the hero, dreaming of following in his footsteps. Min-chul feels like nothing's changed. As a kid, he knew every inch of this monument by heart. 2 decades ago, he stood here with his class looking up in pure wonder at the hero's towering height. Was the guy actually a giant? Young Min-chul couldn't believe someone could be that massive. Their guide gathered the kids, explaining that this hero possessed strength that transcended even the top-ranked hunters. He was the shield that saved the world. Without his bravery, Earth would still be a burning wasteland. But victory came at a price. The hero perished after the second cataclysm, and this statue was built in his honor, a reminder of the ultimate sacrifice. They were told to live every day with hearts full of gratitude. Young Min-chul was shook. This was the strongest man alive. He swore he'd reach that level one day. Excited voices filled the air as the kids asked if hard work alone could turn them into hunters. "How do we sign up? Do good grades help?" The teacher could only offer a nervous, awkward smile. He had no answers back then. Now the adult Min-chul finally understands that look of hesitation. He realized late that being a hunter isn't just about effort. It takes raw talent and a massive stroke of luck. They were too innocent to know how impossible their dreams were. It was a brutal reality check for his younger soul. Suddenly, his classmates rush over, surprised to find him waiting at the rendezvous point so early. "You're barely on time," Min-chul deadpans. "One more minute and I would have ghosted you from the credit list." As they line up for research, a girl whispers Min-chul's the department's absolute savage when it comes to grades. He deleted Junsuk's name last term. Yoon-mi was literally sobbing in public over it. "He's hot, but his soul is stone cold," another adds. Min-chul sighs, "I can literally hear you guys." He ignores them, eyeing the massive queue, waiting to see the legendary weapon on display. Weekdays don't matter, the place is swamped. People still worship the man who saved their world long ago. To end the nightmare war between gods and demons, the hero threw away his own life without a second thought. He drove his blade into the demon king's heart. Today marked the debut of that weapon, Kalith, the divine sword. "Next group, please enter," the staff calls out. Min-chul and his team step inside the exhibit. At least the report will be easy. Then they see it, the holy blade of legend shimmering before them. Min-chul blinks. That's the hero's sword. It looked eerily different from what he expected. As he draws closer, the sword suddenly levitates. He freezes, wondering if his eyes are playing tricks on him. It moved. Was this some holographic show? No, the blade was actually hovering in mid-air. In a flash, the divine steel pierces his chest. The hero's phantom appears, and Min-chul's voice drops into a dark, demonic rasp. "Excellent. I am the Demon Lord." Imagine finding a warrior this legendary in such a forgotten corner of the universe. His blade skills were honestly top tier. He demanded a name, leaving Min-chul paralyzed with dread. Was he actually Deimos, the legendary Demon Lord? The thought was terrifying. The hero stayed silent, burying his blade even deeper. The Demon Lord just smirked. "Giving me the silent treatment now," he mocked. He had to stay sharp. Their paths would cross again. Suddenly, the vision shattered, leaving Min-chul collapsing to the cold floor. His skull felt like it was detonating. Moments later, the chaotic shouts of his frantic classmates pulled him back to reality. He sat up, completely dazed. Had he just blacked out? His brain was thumping against his skull like a drum. "Are you okay?" a student cried out. He had just dropped like a stone. Should they call 911? Min-chul just pointed toward the artifact. He stuttered, asking why that sword had floated up to impale him. They stared back, completely lost by his wild claims. Apparently, he had stared at the blade and then just folded. Did he fall asleep on his feet? Minchul was spiraling in shock. Was it a hallucination? It felt too visceral to be fake. Then looking at the divine sword, cryptic visions flooded his mind. 23 years ago, the Demon King descended to bring the apocalypse. He was the supreme ruler of one of the four great realms, Pandemonium, the supreme commander Damos. Why here? That was the name he carried in his previous life, the life of a monster. Later, the class finished their reports and scored high marks. Everyone was hyped, celebrating their success and praising his hard work. Getting an A from that nightmare of a teacher was a miracle. But Min Chol looked like a ghost, completely drained of energy. He forced a weak reply. A classmate frowned, worried, because he had been acting strange ever since that weird museum trip. Seriously, do you need a doctor? They asked. He insisted he was fine, claiming he just had too much on his mind. He tried to brush it off. Suddenly, a friend shouted, asking where he was going. Weren't they celebrating the end of exams? He was not in the mood for drinks. Something was definitely up. Min Chol walked away knowing that some party was the least of his worries. His sanity was hanging by a thread. He was supposed to be a normal, low-key guy, not the freaking reincarnation of a demon king. When the demonic legions invaded Earth, the carnage was absolute. Countless lives were snuffed out in the chaos. He spent his whole life loathing that monster, only to realize that the villain was actually him. His old body was gone forever. Min Chol had not unlocked any cheat skills yet, so why were these memories flooding back? Plus, one massive question haunted him. If he was the invincible demon king, how did he even die? His human form back then was just a temporary vessel. After death, his soul should have snapped back to his true form. And then there was that legendary hero. That man was perfectly healthy, yet he died alongside him. No obsessing over this was a waste of time. It changed nothing. He needed to focus on the now. The bridge between Damos and Minchul started with one thing, the flow of mana. For high-dimensional beings, sensing mana is as natural as breathing. But for those in lower realms, it is a near impossible feat. He still remembered the technique. It required deep, rhythmic breathing and absolute mental focus. He closed his eyes and began. Following the ancient steps, a glowing system prompt suddenly flickered to life. He had successfully sensed the hidden mana around him. All requirements were met. Now, the real challenge began. He had to slowly reconstruct his mastery over this raw magical energy. More windows flashed. Awakening sequence initiated. He was officially bridging the gap and accessing the legendary Akashic records. The chronicles were scanning for a skill that perfectly matched his soul's frequency. Status updated. Min Chol had officially unlocked a unique player ability. He stood there, completely floored by the sudden power-up. Is it really that easy? He whispered. He slumped onto a bench, his mind racing between his past life and this new reality. Being the reincarnated Demon King was stressful enough, but an awakened too. Talk about overkill. A new notification appeared. Player status unlocked. Min Chol could now access his personal data. This was his unique edge. Status window, he commanded, eager to see his potential. He caught on quickly. It was time for a reality check. He spoke the command, bracing for the results. Twin windows hovered before him, revealing an S-rank tier and a strange limitation. His unique ability, information check. This skill could scan anything. His karma was apparently so massive, it could literally rewrite the fundamental laws of the world. By slaying monsters and harvesting points, he could bend reality itself. So I level up by hunting, like a video game. He realized that dimensions are ranked by the weight of their karma. Higher beings simply possess more fundamental power. Their immense karma gives them a godlike advantage over lower world creatures. That power gap is what defines their entire existence. This massive divide creates a literal abyss. To cross into lower realms, high-tier beings are forced to inhabit a temporary host body. It is a cosmic safety net to keep the balance. These are the absolute laws of the multiverse. The Demon King used a substitute, but could he actually rewrite these rules? If so, Min Chul might just shatter every limit. Min Chul is just a regular guy now. The Demon King is gone, and the war between heaven and hell is officially over. Reparations were made, but if the traumatized public finds out the Demon King is back, everything will burn. He has to survive as Min Chul. No choice but to exploit his past secrets to thrive in this life. Once he regains his god-tier strength, he'll ensure humanity survives. It's a redemption arc, basically. Besides, he's always craved power. Saving the world while leveling up, that's the ultimate win-win scenario. Step 1. Mana cultivation. Damos's ancient memories are overflowing with secret methods to boost his magic reserves. Deep in the midnight shadows, Min Chul carves a complex rune into the earth to siphon massive amounts of energy. Ping A system notification confirms it, a rank S magic circle perfectly executed with zero margin for error. This forbidden geometry belonged to the Demon Kings. It's designed to forcibly condense raw mana from the world. It pulls energy from the atmosphere, but right now it's dormant. The engine is there, but it lacks fuel. Time for a catalyst. The moment he drops a magic item into the center, the air begins to hum. Ancient runes flare to life. As the system confirms an E-rank mana stone has ignited the ritual's core, the circle roars to life. Magic output skyrockets by 450% for the next 5 minutes. Min Chul drops into a meditative stance. The mana is so dense, it's shimmering in the air like liquid light. The stage is set for pranayama. He must inhale the raw essence of nature and lock it within his soul. Basic breathing is child's play. He needs the star system, a method to forge a miniature universe inside his mind. In his past life, Deimos forged a pact with a celestial being and traversed the legendary world of Murim. There he mastered a forbidden spiritual art known only to the high priests of the most vicious demonic cults. The ultimate technique, the star system. Eons of combat allowed him to refine various martial arts into one absolute crushing force that transcended demonic magic. Martial arts were his secret weapon for conquering the demon realm. Naturally, he's sticking with what works. He channels a flood of starlight into his veins, illuminating the entire clearing. The circle glows with blinding intensity. One slip in concentration, and this cosmic power would shred his mortal frame. A violent torrent of mana erupts, swirling around him like a celestial storm. If he stops now, he'll lose his mind or explode. A human body shouldn't hold this much cosmic heat. But he's no ordinary human. His Demon King's soul thrives on agony. Slowly, the system announces the ritual is over. The star system technique has officially reached level 1. His physical limits are already beginning to shatter. Strength and dexterity both surge by 5 points each. Constitution and stamina gain 4, while magic jumps by a massive 20. Rank EX Star System, Pranayama, a transcendental breathing art that crafts a literal cosmos within the user's psyche. It funnels the raw power of glowing nebulae directly into his mind, to be wielded at will. Min Chul wakes up completely numb, wondering if his hard-earned techniques count as official hunter skills. A new prompt appears. The celestial powers of light and shadow are beginning to fuse. Total opposites merge, birthing a terrifying new energy that defies the laws of nature. Mana is just a fraction of the universe's true power. He stares at the screen, totally baffled. Back home, he checks his stats again. This isn't just magic, it's something far more cosmic and ancient. He's never seen power like this. It's on a completely different level of existence. The star system requires balance. Before, as a demon, he could only harness the energy of darkness. But if he can master both the light and the dark nebulae through this breathing technique, he won't just be a hero, he'll be the strongest entity across every single dimension. He eventually heads to the Hunter Registration Center. To work legally, he needs that official license. The building is buzzing. People are either crying tears of joy or staring in shock at their results. Min Chul just sighs. He looks at his report and sees a pathetic row of E ranks. He deadpans, asking the clerk if there's an F rank available. The poor worker looks totally mortified. "Sorry, sir," they stammer, "but E rank is literally the lowest value we have." Our protagonist stood there clueless, wondering why the clerk looked so flustered. Did she catch a glimpse of his stats? He scanned the document intently. To his surprise, his signature trait was listed as undefined. Had the mighty association actually failed to gauge his true potential? It seemed the cosmic force within him was beyond their measurement. Pointing at the paper, he asked about the mysterious letters tucked inside, parentheses. Gesturing to the status column, she explained those symbols represented the ceiling of his latent growth and hidden powers. Inside the perilous gates, awakened ones evolve by slaying monsters. However, there is always a hard limit to that evolution. That bracketed number marks the finish line. He realized then most hunters are born with a fixed cap on their destiny. But for him, those rules were irrelevant. The clerk mentioned rare legends who supposedly break through the association's narrow predictions. They grasp a power far beyond any mortal gauge. She added that while the tower is too dangerous, low-level zones still need him. He shouldn't let his low rank get him down. He offered a polite nod, feeling weirdly touched. Was she actually trying to cheer him up? Little did she know, he wasn't bothered in the slightest. Stepping out, he saw a pack of guild headhunters prowling for fresh meat. They were swarming the association grounds, desperate for talent. He watched them work tirelessly, baiting the newly awakened with empty promises. 2 scouts initially hailed him with excitement, but their smiles instantly vanished the moment they scanned his pathetic aura. Word of his trash, E-rank status must have spread like wildfire. Fine by him, at least he wouldn't have to deal with their annoying pitches. With every stat, save for magic, sitting at rock bottom, he was nothing but a low-tier weakling to be discarded by the elite. Suddenly, his phone buzzed. A generic notification popped up, the Hunter Association officially welcoming their newest, lowest-ranked member. His registration was finally confirmed. It was a standard automated blast sent to every dreamer who signs their life away to the association. In this world, the association's seal is the only thing standing between a civilian and a professional monster slayer. The upcoming exam would judge his worthiness to enter the tower gates. Location: Seoul Song-san District 240 Wildcap Road. Scheduled for the second Monday. Was this his final trial for a license? The clock was ticking. Only 10 days remained. Power leveling would have to wait. He knew the drill. The exam was a brutal random test of combat prowess and survival instincts. It was designed to weed out the weak. With his current pathetic numbers, he was basically a guaranteed failure in their eyes. To survive the trial, he needed to overhaul his raw physical specs. Without hesitation, he hit the pavement, beginning his grueling grind. Blue system holograms began flickering, pinging every time his muscles grew stronger. Gasping for air, he pushed his body to the brink. He recalled the secret: true power starts with the breath. His memories from a previous existence were his ultimate cheat code. If he forged his vessel correctly, this exam would be a walk in the park. By day, he shattered his physical limiters under the sun. By night, he meditated, refining the legendary star system technique to perfection. 10 days of this hell would be more than enough. Eventually, he pulled up his status. Strength was now 21, agility 20, and his constitution had climbed to 16. Endurance sat at 18, while universal power hit 49. With energy at 637, he couldn't help but grin. Those glowing numbers were the proof of his progress. A week of blood, sweat, and absolute agony had finally paid off. Next up, the star system technique. He visualized the swirling cosmic clouds where light and shadow collided in his core. When these polar forces clash, they birth universal energy. In his old life, he was shackled only to the power of the abyss. Back then, reaching the second star took a whole year. Now he'd achieved it in a fortnight while bolstering his physique. He was finally ready to unlock the 7-star Rogue Fist and the Cloud Sliding Step. The first was a gritty, foundational art. Born from the street fighting of nameless warriors, it consisted of 7 lethal stances fueled by his rising inner energy. He needed to harden his limbs to handle the strain. Its simple fluid movements made it the perfect base to weave with other arts. It was the ideal weapon for his current level. After hours of grueling practice, the system finally acknowledged his new combat skill. 7-star Rogue Fist. Classification: Martial Art. Rank C. Required: one who wields the mana of the cosmos. By channeling energy into his limbs, he could ignite his latent potential and deliver strikes with terrifying precision. His destructive force would skyrocket in an instant. At the 1st-star level, his physical reinforcement increased by 10%. It drains 4 energy units per second, but boosts his striking power and speed by 50% upon activation. He wondered how the world system would log his ancient techniques. Just as he suspected, it categorized his hard work as skills. Though a C-rank fist technique was just a shadow compared to his star system art, it was a solid start for a rookie. He craved the god-tier arts of his prime, but he knew better than to rush. Skipping the fundamentals was a death sentence. Without a solid base, his own power would tear him apart. Now it was time to test the cloud gliding step, a new path. For his current weak vessel, this movement art was a perfect fit. It was time to walk as light as a phantom. It lacks raw offensive power, yet excels in counter-strikes and unshakable poise. A system alert flickered, revealing the rank B martial art cloud gliding step. This forbidden art manipulates cosmic mana through movements as fluid as drifting mists. The technique grants a rock-solid foundation, boosting movement velocity by 50%. It surges physical strength by 10%, while mitigating 1/5 of incoming damage. Consuming 2 units of cosmic energy per second, he decided to initiate training. Upon activation, the system interface pinged, confirming his movement attributes had spiked. His speed soared by 50%, draining 2 points of universal mana every second. Stunned, he realized this surpassed his memories, his body blurring with impossible haste. This was merely the 1st-star level, yet it rivaled 4th-star velocity. Beyond sheer speed, his equilibrium remained flawless, no matter how fast he lunged. Were techniques fueled by universal energy truly this superior to his former dark magic? Catching sight of a massive tree, he decided it was time for a test. With a smirk, he unleashed a single devastating blow to gauge his new power. The trunk detonated into thousands of splinters, leaving him reeling at such raw destruction. Reclaiming his past life's peak suddenly felt like a walk in the park. Glancing at his bloodied knuckles, he realized another bare-handed strike would shatter his frame. Restraint was mandatory. Later, he arrived at the Interstellar Alliance's towering headquarters. He bypassed security using his newly awakened registration to enter the main hall. A perky receptionist greeted him, offering the standard corporate gratitude for his visit. She asked for his business, but he found the constant chatter incredibly grating. This was the elite hub of intergalactic warrior merchants, a top-tier military superpower. They were cosmic profiteers, selling forbidden artifacts to anyone with enough gold. Their reach was so absolute that every known species relied on their services. They were an untouchable titan, an organization that nobody dared to cross. Simply put, they were greedy vultures masking their massive profits behind hollow neutrality. When he demanded the branch manager, the girl's professional mask finally slipped. He repeated his request, stating his identification was simply the letter R. That code should be enough to summon the boss, and she scrambled instantly. Moments later, Marchand, the Alliance director himself, came scurrying through the lobby. Nearby, hunters whispered in shock, sensing a massive high-stakes deal was unfolding. He approached the protagonist, bowing deeply to the rare Code R elite visitor. Begging for forgiveness, he offered to personally escort him to the interdimensional vault. As the dwarf led the way, the main character activated his scanning ability. The system identified him as Marchand, a 31-year-old dwarven merchant. Possessing a strength stat of 103, his unique gift was money sense. This innate talent allowed him to sniff out legendary investments with absolute certainty. He looked like a weathered old soul, burdened by a century of trade. Yet by dwarf standards, he was a young prodigy to lead this branch. His talent was undeniable, even if all dwarves looked identical to the protagonist. Eventually they reached the vault, a place where time and space meant nothing. While most trades take years, this warehouse used advanced tech to bypass reality. It was the Alliance's crown jewel, though. He remembered hating their steep fees. He never expected to rely on their overpriced services in this new life. Security was absolute for the 24 secret elites. He pressed his hand to the scanner, inputting the magical code R. The seals hissed open, confirming his status. Inside sat a single legacy item. If he had known reincarnation was real, he would have stashed an entire treasury. Was it pure luck he couldn't take this relic back to Earth? He simply left it here to wait. He lifted the mystical artifact, examining it closely. To anyone else, it looked like a mundane street pebble. Just another rock underfoot. Black Star awaken. Suddenly, the small stone split open, revealing its true form. A legendary relic appeared. A system prompt flashed. The Black Star has chosen a new master. Synchronization finished. Since the owner changed, all previous karma accumulated on the item has been wiped clean. Black Star, rank normal, type weapon, durability, infinite, a divine blade forged from a dying star's essence. It manifests ancient legends. The wielder can morph its shape instantly. Changing its form recalibrates the user's stats. Every ability adjusts to its new look. This artifact is indestructible, though a powerful seal still remains. He knew it would be sealed. The Black Star's power scales directly with the owner's own karma level. Currently, his cultivation is weaker than a minor demon's, making it impossible to gather karma for now. He can't tap into its full potential yet, but its basic functions are more than enough. With a smirk, he morphed the artifact into a standard sword, masking its true, terrifying power. This would make the hunter exam a total breeze. For a master of various martial arts, it is perfection. The ultimate weapon. Later, the merchant briefed his secretary Ellie about everything from his private office. The VIP, she asked, doubting his strength. The merchant insisted I saw his true nature myself. No doubt. Why would a VIP visit a lower dimension? Perhaps a higher being was hiding their identity. They likely used a proxy body on Earth, carefully concealing their overwhelming cosmic power from the world. He sensed a massive payday. Ellie joked that his greedy merchant instincts were as sharp as ever. Cash makes him a client, the merchant shrugged. He needed an elite worker to handle the heavy lifting. He didn't want to burn out. Ellie confirmed, I will watch him closely, but won't start a probe yet. She would stop any info leaks. The dwarf nodded, fully trusting her to handle the secret. High-tier species were watching Earth closely now. His hard-won rank near the tower was only the first step. Earning this position took everything, but it wasn't enough. With this client's help, he would climb even higher. His rise was certain. Finally, exam day arrived. Our protagonist reached the massive Hunter License Testing Center. This place is massive, he noted. A staffer yelled, Welcome to the official Hunter Proving Grounds. Today was the 50th annual exam. Holding his ticket, the MC felt the intense pressure of the crowd. Weren't they supposed to wait in the lounge? He looked around, already wandering off the beaten path. Entering the hall, reporters suddenly swarmed, rushing toward the geniuses Shin Yumi and Yu Song-woo instead. They begged for interviews. The MC was baffled watching the chaotic media circus surrounding these two rookies. Are they celebrities? He wondered. Rumors claimed Yumi was actually the legendary Ambassador Vanheim's secret daughter. Word is, she is a spirit medium. And Song-woo, he already signed with the #1 ranked Waran Guild. He crushed their swordsmanship trials. Waran only takes the best. His stats must be absolutely insane. Everyone bet on them winning. Suddenly, the staff announced, the examination begins in exactly 10 minutes. Time to move. Every candidate must collect their official Hunter watch from the kiosks immediately. Check your watch for the designated entry gate. Soon, a flood of hopefuls entered the artificial jungle. He frowned, scanning the trees. Is this entire forest man-made? The other adventurers looked equally confused. A jungle test, they muttered. A voice boomed, announcing the official rules for the 55th license exam. The testing criteria were finally live. The core discipline for this year was simple: absolute survival. Score 100 points to pass. Check your watches for real-time scoring data and the map. Everyone starts with a standard energy shield. Take damage and it drains. If it hits 0, you are out. 0 energy means instant disqualification. They have thought of everything, the MC noted, checking his gear. 3 paths to victory: kill 50 monsters, take down a boss, or hunt your fellow examinees. He scanned the armed hunters nearby. Total war. Every direction held a potential enemy waiting to strike. "Let us get started," he whispered. "In this game, candidates must eliminate each other to secure their future. Points are everything. If the monsters run out, the hunters will surely turn on one another." Sure, some weaklings begged for a squad, but numbers meant nothing to him. Soloing was his only vibe. A real boss awaited deep within the jungle's heart. No action yet. He craved the violent symphony of cold steel clashing against steel. Hunting other participants seemed like a decent warm-up to test their true capabilities. Suddenly, a massive Black Panther lunged. Smirking, he forged a spear from his artifact. He claimed first blood. A system alert flashed as cosmic energy enveloped his body. Stats exploded by 40%. The legendary sliding cloud step technique hummed to life. He blurred toward the beast, knowing this monster was just a simulated trial. Yet its murderous intent felt chillingly authentic. Its hide was iron-tough and powerful. Tanking was risky in this frail body. He lunged, but a spiked mace appeared. He pivoted smoothly. That lethal tail made close-quarters combat a nightmare plan. Creating distance, he waited. The moment the predator pounced, he locked his target. He unleashed the swift spear technique, crushing strike. The system interface pinged instantly. 8 units of cosmic energy vanished. Skill swift spear. Rank B martial art. Requirement control over magic or universal energy. This technique was forged for execution. It boasted god-tier speed and piercing force designed solely to carve an enemy's throat. Level 1. 30% strength, 20% agility, and 120% penetration. The panther's head flew clean off. System named Monster Stalker has been eliminated. 10 points earned. Total 32. The hunt was just starting to get interesting. Not bad, he mused. If a minion was this tough, the boss would be legendary. Suddenly 3 shadows loomed. Kim Young-jin, the youngest, barked at his brothers. This random kid had poached their kill. They had been tracking that monster. The eldest, Kim Young-chul, stepped forward. "You've got a death wish, kid." They were the Black 3 Stars. Famous, feared, world-class brothers who hated thieves. Who are these clowns, he wondered. They likely preyed on exhausted, weakened players. Scavengers. He blinked, activating Eye of Truth to peel back their hidden stats. Physically, they were beasts far sturdier than him. Their potential wasn't half bad either. "Is this brat laughing at us?" Yong-jin growled, his face twisting in fury. Yong-chul narrowed his eyes. The boy clearly didn't realize his life was ending. "Less yapping, more scrapping," he countered with a grin. "Stop talking and attack." "I'll shut you up," Yong-jin roared. They demanded points or a violent death. "School's in session," they hissed, drawing weapons and charging in a synchronized wave. He shifted his artifact into a dagger, dancing through their strikes with grace. "Got you," Yong-jin yelled. But they had picked the wrong guy to fight. He unleashed the branch dagger art, dealing multiple blows in a silver blur. System flower dagger technique activated. Rank C. A specialized martial art for lethality. Exclusive to those wielding universal power. A defensive masterpiece from the Howman Fortress. It traded raw power for surgical precision, parrying heavy blows with zero wasted effort. Level 1. Counterattacks reduce enemy power by 30%. A perfect defensive skill. Deflecting cost 8 energy. Critical hits added 50% strength damage for 3 units. Under his relentless pressure, the brothers began to buckle. The tide had shifted. "Back off," Yong-jin screamed. He was too close for magic to be useful. Suddenly, Yong-chul hurled a spear. "Get away from my brother," he bellowed. Flames erupted as he cast fire magic. Burn, but our protagonist just kept smiling. He manifested a massive blade. 5 Tiger Blade, he whispered. Playtime was over. A notification flared the A-rank 5 Tiger Blade, a martial art restricted to those who can weave magic or tap into cosmic energy. This was the legendary secret of the prestigious Hebei Peng clan. Renowned for its raw ferocity and practicality, its sheer simplicity made it a terrifyingly efficient killing tool. Our hero lunged, soaring through the air like a predator before reaching Yun-chul. "Game over," he smirked. The boys shrieked in terror, but it was too late. One swift strike earned him 13 points. He realized this guy was a goldmine of points. Yun-su stood paralyzed, completely shell-shocked. His brother and his pride were shattered. Yun-jin shuddered, sensing a monstrous aura radiating from him. This was the real deal. Our protagonist wondered if only one of these losers actually held points. Were these guys even worth the effort? He began closing the distance, stalking his next prey. "Ready to finish this?" he asked. Suddenly the speakers blared. Participant 450 Yun-chul out. His shield hit 0, forcing his withdrawal. Among the spectators, a wave of frantic whispers spread. How could a Black 3-star fail? These were the elite stars of the country's second-best guild. A girl grinned, knowing it was Sung-woo's doing. Everything was playing out exactly as predicted. He was the secret weapon discovered by Lee Won-taek, Korea's legendary second-ranked hunter. Under that monster's tutelage, the ultimate talent was born Sung-woo. And now, the Gamson Guild boys never stood a chance. The announcer continued. Yun-su and Yun-jin. Both shields have reached 0. Elimination confirmed for participants 451 and 52. The camera shifted to our protagonist, standing calm amidst the wreckage of the three brothers. That's our pride, Sung-woo, the girl cheered. But wait, who was that mysterious figure? He kept moving, mashing through more contestants. Was he already on his 20th kill? Afraid of missing the top-tier targets, he prowled the boss area like a hungry wolf. Still no sign of them, and time was ticking. With an hour left, the exam took priority. Time to hunt the big game. He headed for the boss, following the only path to glory. A claustrophobic tunnel loomed ahead. At its end, a massive presence waited in the dark. A colossal stone golem blocked his path. It was a fortress of rock, with insane self-healing powers. A system window identified it, the Blue Guard, Strength 100, Constitution 80, a literal walking tank. Weak attacks were useless. It could stitch its stony limbs back together using pure mana. Manifesting a spear, he frowned. Did the examiners actually expect anyone to kill this monster? One slip-up meant instant disqualification. He couldn't let it breathe. He had to keep the pressure on. He struck, but his weapon just bounced off the heavy plating. The defense was absolutely insane. Too soft, he hissed. The system mocked him with a 0 damage notification as the battle raged. The golem swung a mountain-sized fist, but he danced through the air narrowly, avoiding the smash. Attack failed. Retrying. The system chimed. He laughed. Was this monster actually calling out its moves? How polite. He'd been bored stiff by those weak brothers. But this was a real fight. No need for the tiger blade yet. He wanted to test his raw strength against this titan first. Vaulting high, he morphed his artifact into a massive axe. Mountain cleaving, he roared. The impact was seismic. A jagged fissure tore through the golem's chest. The system confirmed the technique. A B+ rank technique fueled by cosmic energy and magic. The ultimate power of the universe. It was the pinnacle of axe mastery, a devastating blow designed to split the world apart. Damage boosted by 130% strength. The cost, 15 units of universal energy. The hit landed, but the system warned a lethal counterattack was already in motion. He rolled away a wild grin on his face. The crack was small, but it worked. If one hit didn't do it, he'd land 1,000. He wasn't leaving until this golem was dust. Suddenly, Yumi arrived on the scene. Her eyes widened as she saw him soloing the boss. He felt her gaze and grew nervous. Why did she show up when he was almost victorious? If she unleashes those spirits now juggling her, and the golem becomes a literal death sentence, simultaneously fighting both is impossible. But targeting her gives the golem time to fully regenerate. That's a total dead end. Yumi smirks, asking if he needs a hand with the boss. Our MC freezes, baffled by her audacity. He'd already sliced that monster into ribbons. Why try to steal my feast? He snaps. The girl just flashes a playful grin. She taunts him, asking if he's too weak to solo it. Is that her play? He could flip this crisis into a massive win. You really want to catch hands now. 10 minutes. That's all he needs to execute the guard. Yumi scoffs. No way you win. With 20 minutes left, she demands a cut. What's my reward? She presses. He bets it all. 172 points to be exact. A wicked smirk spreads. His stash outweighs the boss loot. A split would only leave her with scraps. It's a gamble she can't refuse. And if you win, she asks. He hesitates. Suddenly the golem starts regenerating. Panic hits, he's been yapping way too long. It's reviving. Buy me dinner later and shut up already, he roars, charging back in. Yumi nods, warning him she'll steal the kill the second he starts failing. He grins, do your worst. It won't happen. She bristles at his casual disrespect. First meeting yet so rude, he chuckles. Don't like it, drop the honorifics too. 10 minutes fly by. The exam concludes and candidates teleport back to the hub. Staff rushes to participant 370 screaming for immediate medical backup. Seeing our MC, they gasp. He's in bad shape too. Get the high-grade potions. Mana and stamina. Flatlined at 0. That golem's healing nearly cost him the bet. Talking almost ruined everything. Yumi stands frozen, her mind reeling in disbelief. Guess she owes him dinner. He predicted every single swing with absolute precision. Could she even beat him? Sung-woo was just raw power. This guy is different. Against Sung-woo, she'd win. But then the speakers blast. Participant 511 takes first. Min Chul has conquered the license exam. The leaderboard flickers to life before everyone. Yumi's second, Sung-woo's third. He stares paralyzed by shock, refusing to accept reality. Cameras swarm him, mocking his third-place finish. He aggressively bats the lenses away. I'm not talking to anyone, he snarls. Then the spotlight shifts completely. All eyes lock onto the MC. Whispers erupt. The dark horse actually claimed the throne. Time to vanish before the mob arrives. Too late, journalists are already hounding him. Demanding interviews, they won't let him leave. Fine, I'll join a guild for 5 billion. 5 billion is his price tag. Guild leaders trade confused looks, calling him insane. Elite skills, but trash tier stats. He'd only be worth that if he were rank A. Why recruit a hunter who's already hit his ceiling? He has zero growth potential. MC just smirks at their logic. Honestly, he never planned on signing anything anyway. Beat it, kid. Nobody's paying $5 billion for a rookie. Then a voice cuts through. I'll pay the contract fee, a voice booms. The MC's jaw nearly hits the floor. Is this for real? $5 billion upfront for a complete unknown. This is pure madness. What kind of psycho makes that deal? He turns to face the madman. It's Margin. The man waves cheerfully from the crowd. Our hero is lost. Who is this short guy? Soon they reach Interstellar Union HQ. MC doesn't hold back. What's your game, old man? I'm not joining your guild, he snaps. Margin just grins. I'm aware of that. I'm just making life easy for you. Register with the Union as a solo mercenary, a freelance hunter. Under this contract, we're partners, not boss and employee. Perfect right. Basically, the Union promised zero interference while providing him a private gate. They'd supply a support crew and buy his loot at premium rates. The hero mused the contract was solid, but the perks were suspicious. The Interstellar Union wasn't a charity. In this world, nothing is free. No freebies was their golden rule. Only a fool would believe this. He tossed the contract aside. Time wasted. Martian quickly called out. Martian claimed they just wanted trust. MC sensed they expected hidden power. He'd already shown his cards. What more did they want from him? Perhaps they were just playing nice. He saw no reason to refuse. He signed. Later, Ellie questioned Martian about the freelance mercenary deal. Martian wasn't being reckless. He told her to prepare for clients. Free mercenaries held power, rivaling pandemonium nobility. This was high stakes. A deal like this required approval from the absolute top brass. A VIP code wasn't enough, but Martian wouldn't let this chance slip. Martian reached out to Knox, one of the Union's 12 directors. To his shock, Knox approved instantly. Is it really that easy? Knox ordered full support. Report everything to me immediately and secretly. Martian collapsed in disbelief. What kind of monster had he found? The VIP status was one thing, but the fight footage, game changer. Earlier, Knox witnessed the protagonist's combat recording and was mesmerized. Every move was surgical. Perfect calculation. Not a single breath wasted. It mirrored Damo's style. But Damo was dead. This was impossible. MC woke up late. Why didn't my alarm go off? He grumbled. A knock. Ellie introduced herself from behind the door. A beauty in my lair. A phone call would have worked. Was she the secretary? She insisted on talking face-to-face instead. She'd sent a text, but our MC had completely missed it. Ellie looked at the room's chaos. Understandable. It's quite messy here. His phone had been buzzing nonstop. How'd they even get his number? He let her in. Ellie scanned the cramped apartment with curiosity. Are you role-playing as a commoner? This is beyond modest. You've done your research, he replied. She denied any intrusive digging. They didn't want to offend him. Then why visit yesterday, he asked. His hunter ID flagged him as a candidate for the upcoming exam. Good. They weren't prying yet. This suited his plans perfectly. Ellie handed over a phone and card. Let's talk business now. He froze. The card held the entire contract amount up front. $5 billion. Even after taxes, the balance was absolutely insane. Is this actually for me? He stammered, staring at the screen. Ellie giggled. She didn't expect the legendary VIP to be so shocked. He lived like a middle schooler. His spending habits were non-existent. There's one more thing, Ellie added, shifting to a serious tone. They needed to finalize his team and the gate raid conditions. Just a porter, he stated. Ellie blinked. No tanks, no healers. I'm enough. He stood up. When do we clear the gate? Our lead noted this journey would be a marathon, not a sprint. He couldn't wait to finally flex his official hunter status. Tucked away was a hidden leveling system, a trump card he'd yet to activate. Ellie bragged that her elite skills would make it a breeze. Fast forward 3 hours, and they arrived at the Amsterdam gates. This rank D forest spanned 3 kilometers of dense woods, crawling with goblins, thorny boars, and those cunning wise monkeys. A lethal rank D creature eater also lurked within. With nearly 37 hours on the clock, he marveled at Ellie's sheer competence. Ellie just flashed a smug grin, reminding him she wasn't lying. Stunned, he admitted her ego was well-earned. Support Commander Yong-hyun approached, eyeing the legendary rookie who'd recently sparked a frenzy. The one who broke the exam records. Ellie waved, introducing the squad assigned to back him up. The commander offered a firm handshake and his name. After reciprocating the gesture, our hero made a cold declaration that he'd be soloing the entire gate. Their only job, collect the loot afterward. Without another word, he vanished into the portal. Yong-hyun questioned why such an unknown name like Minchul required an emergency deployment. Who exactly was this mysterious kid? A teammate chimed in, revealing he was the absolute beast who dominated the national hunter exams. Since the results only dropped yesterday, the name hadn't registered. Suddenly, the reality of the situation hit the entire crew. Tension flared as they scoffed at a literal noob hunter attempting to solo a dungeon. The audacity was laughable. They expected a frantic distress call any second, but then bam, he obliterated a massive boar with a single effortless strike. Grinning, he warned them to keep pace because things were about to get hectic. Every kill started fueling his XP bar. Percentages ticked up on his HUD. High on the thrill of the hunt, he reveled in the massive flow of experience. Seconds later, the glorious chime of the system echoed he had successfully leveled up for the first time. He instantly dove into his stats, heart racing as his power surged. Flashing a confident smirk, he decided it was time to take a breather. Meanwhile, the exhausted support team literally hit the dirt, gasping for air. They whispered that Minchul was a total monster. Moments later, our hero pulled up his updated character sheet, revealing 5 unassigned points. In this world, every level up granted him the freedom to customize his raw power. He didn't hesitate for a second. Without a shred of doubt, he dumped every single point into cosmic power. Was his origin really this broken? Just 30 minutes in, and his energy was already surging. He'd already boosted his reserves by 10%. If this kept up, he'd reach the peak of the world effortlessly. He resumed the carnage, tearing through wise monkeys like a whirlwind. Yong-hyun watched the slaughter in stunned silence. The kid looked possessed by the spirit of battle. How could anyone have dared to call him a rookie? This wasn't a newbie. This was a war god who'd survived thousands of blood-soaked battlefields. It was clear they were merely spectators to his unpredictable genius. It was impossible to believe he'd just gotten his license. He was desperate to see how far this kid could climb. Before long, every mob in the vicinity lay dead. He'd already hit level 5. Realizing the field was empty, he turned to the team, casually asking about the boss. If they were ready for the final showdown. Yong-hyun hid his shock, nodding with a knowing smirk, and told Minchul to trust his instincts. Meanwhile, a teammate stared in disbelief, shaking with visible anxiety. The veteran asked if he knew the protocol. Standard raids required days of scouting before even approaching the boss. Charging in without intel was a death wish. You couldn't just gamble your life on a blind assault, right? Minchul just shrugged, finding the caution completely pointless. If information was the only issue, he'd just solve it himself. He decided to end it now. He knew the only way out was through the destruction of the gate's core. Tracking the surge of mana, he pinpointed the boss's location. Moments later, he stepped into the lair of Edamon, the rank D king of monkeys. Minchul recalled that this beast possessed a uniquely dangerous skill set. He was a master of high-tier magic. Yong-hyun warned that underestimating Edamon would lead to a gruesome death, but Minchul was already a blur of motion. He told them to relax already, visualizing his winning move. To win, he just had to shut down the boss's casting. Feeling the threat, Edamon slammed down a cursed totem. A numbness curse instantly washed over him, dragging his agility down. The air itself felt heavy and restrictive. Using a flurry of dagger techniques and pinpoint throws, he shattered the totem into a million pieces. He smirked to himself. These apes were clueless. Their fate was sealed the moment they bared their teeth. Outclassed and outnumbered, not for him. The MC decapitated the monkeys in a flash, closing the distance to the boss. Without warning, Edamon let out a blood-curdling shriek, evolving into a terrifying new form. The boy froze in shock. Did that boss just self-buff? The MC wondered. His power was skyrocketing. His teammates shrieked in pure, unadulterated horror. They wailed that this beast was unbeatable alone. Our hero rolled his eyes. Were they actually going to help, or just whine? Imagine struggling against such a weakling. He unleashed the 5-tiger blade instantly, carving through Edamon like butter. A system window flickered to life. Gate cleared. Mission accomplished. Emerging back into the world, laden with rare artifacts, Ellie flashed a bright smile. You absolutely crushed it, she praised. Have you been standing here the whole time, he asked. She nodded, noting this was his legendary first gate clear. Would he be hungry for more? The MC cut to the chase, asking when the next mission was on the books. 3 days from now, she answered. He sighed in relief. He had some serious errands to run before then, and after tomorrow, schedule a gate daily. Ellie gaped in pure shock. Are you insane? Most hunters need days to recover. He just shrugged. To him, fatigue was just a myth. Can you hook me up with a gear merchant tomorrow? I should probably stop fighting half naked. He recalled the Deimos era. His body was shielded by demonic skin then. He could tank any hit without blinking. Now, without gear, it was a different story. His body was battered and bruised. Ellie broke the silence. You'll have to meet the Union Master directly, she explained. I'll notify you once the slot is confirmed. It shouldn't be a long wait. Heading toward the car, he replied that he was actually looking forward to it. At the Interstellar Union, he tallied his gear costs. He never imagined the legendary master would be such a shorty. He'd been suspicious of this guy. His methods were one thing, but the way he spoke was a whole different story. Maybe he's legit. Plan head home and squeeze in some training. The hero stepped onto the bus. Mid-trip, a massive collision rocked the street. He peered out the window to see the source of the chaos. A jagged gate was ripping open right in the center of the road. He stared, completely stunned. A black gate in the heart of Seoul. Yesterday's was just a blue. Suddenly, giant werewolves began pouring out. Panic erupted. Pedestrians fled in terror, shrieking that monsters were breaking through. "We have to get out of here." In the heart of the chaos, a little girl cried out for her mother. A werewolf holding a crossbow approached. It claimed her as its next meal. Suddenly, the MC swept her up. "Why are you drooling, you disgusting beast?" He launched a spear at the beast, mocking it. "Using real martial arts on you would be a complete waste. Just die and hand over the experience points." A system notification materialized before his eyes. "You earned 2.5% experience. Is my level so low that the gains are this pathetic?" he wondered. A second window flashed. Universal energy detected. He could actually absorb this power for himself. The MC's heart raced. "I can harvest this." Eventually, the Association warriors arrived to secure the gate. They clashed with the werewolves. "Oh me Jin," a D-rank hunter, panted. "The numbers are just overwhelming." "I'm out of mana," she cried. Jung Min Soo, another D-ranker, shouted that his shield was about to break. These weren't your typical E-rank monsters. Their coloration was bizarre. Then out of nowhere, they watched the MC soar through the air, spear in hand. "Free energy," he shouted effortlessly, evading every attack. He slaughtered the werewolves. Min Soo stared in awe. "Who is that man?" A system window appeared. "Star system equipment readiness has reached 1.5%. Universal power increased by 0.3. The MC smirked. "Why are you just standing there? Go help the wounded. I'll hold the line. These monsters are all my experience points now." With those words, he lunged back into the monster horde, tearing them apart. Later that day, the MC met Jo Sun-hee at a cafe. "I heard you stopped a gate breakout all by yourself," Sun-hee remarked. "Completely solo. It was so sudden, a gate opening in the city center. If you hadn't intervened, the casualties would have been catastrophic. On behalf of the association, I truly want to thank you." The boy gave a polite bow. "I just did what needed to be done," the MC replied modestly. Sun-hee handed him a business card, noting his heroic actions deserved a proper reward. The MC began to think. He reigned as the security chief. A true hunter capable of detecting mana, his power likely sat at A or B rank. Activating his eyes of truth felt like a waste. They were strangers passing by, and frankly, he just did not care. His best bet was calling Ellie to clean up this mess immediately. That was his only priority. Fast forward 1 week, and Minchul crosses paths with Sun-hee again. He never expected to see her in this place. Watching Sun-hee, he pondered his life as a hunter. His mind drifted back to the chaos 2 days prior. He recalled a twin-headed werewolf's deafening roar as it tore through the helpless city. Blade in hand, Minchul stood over the beast. The system flashed, announcing his ascension to level 11. A week of relentless grinding had passed since his breakthrough, and his level was finally skyrocketing. But the hunger for points was eternal. He pushed off the dirt as the system chimed again. Strength up by 1, constitution by 0.4, and agility by 0.5. The grind never stops. Training upside down, he realized better gear was vital for higher-tier gates. Suddenly, a familiar face approached. They asked if he was slacking. He fired back while the air was still thick with tension. He worked. His peers were baffled. While they were drowning in exhaustion, his iron will remained unshakable. He requested a brief breather. Moments later, our hero was already trekking deep into the woods. Out of nowhere, Ellie appeared with a playful smirk, claiming she had been expecting him all along. She was his designated support, but surely the Union had better uses for her time than waiting around. She insisted the squad was just being attentive. Minchul sensed she took orders directly from that short guy. Ellie dropped a bombshell. The squad leader requested a private audience with him immediately. His new gear was ready. Surprised, he realized he would have to take a break from gate clearing tomorrow. Checking everything takes time after all. Suddenly, his hunter instincts flared at an odd sensation nearby. He glanced over, confused. His teammates were practically sobbing with tears of pure relief. The prospect of rest was a miracle. They felt like they had finally been heard by the heavens. Diving into gates daily was soul-crushing work. Minchul watched them, completely failing to relate. The crew joked that some heartless villain was forcing them to work without any mercy. Usually they had days between missions, but this pace was insane. Minchul just could not wrap his head around it. The guys kept venting. They were pulling way more shifts than the standard protocol required. It was a golden ticket to earn bank, so they stayed quiet, but the fatigue was becoming unbearable. Any job requires downtime. Minchul apologized for his freakish stamina and wondered what was up. Seeing them talk in perfect sync was low-key annoying. With a quick wave, they parted ways. They promised to see him tomorrow at the Interstellar Union headquarters for his big send-off. As soon as he stepped out of the vehicle, a swarm of hungry journalists descended upon him. Minchul groaned. The paparazzi were back, shoving microphones in his face and demanding a statement. Rumors were flying that he was the MVP during that recent terrifying gate breakout. They grilled him about his secret deal with the Union. Stunned, he struggled to find the right words. He abruptly apologized and pushed past the crowd, leaving the confused reporters staring at his back. Ellie watched him sighing at his sheer stubbornness. The man simply refused to play by the rules. Entering the room, Minchul sighed about nearly getting mobbed. The girl and the leader were already waiting. The leader practically beamed with pride. He boasted that the custom gear was finally ready for action. Minchul was skeptical. He wanted a look. Marchand just smiled, confident that his client would be impressed. With a single click, the equipment manifested. The system identified it as the legendary Talos Promise. Rare rank armor, durability 250, physical defense 20, fire resistance 7, high tier specs. Next was the Talos Faith. Rare rank pants with 210 durability and level 13 physical defense. With 15 wind resistance and a 7% agility boost via wind path, he still remained cautious. Then he spotted the Sylph's Tear, a rare earring boosting his agility by a massive 20%. Finally, the Volcanic Oath ring appeared, granting him a direct 20-point boost to his strength. The moment Minchul donned the gear, he felt its raw power. Marchand leaned in, asking if the equipment satisfied his hunger for strength. It's perfect, he admitted, honestly exceeding every expectation. However, with more time and a bigger budget, they could have forged something truly legendary. Since the contract lacked an item clause, he felt a sting of regret. He aimed for a fair partnership with the union. The leader paused, and Minchul doubled down. Exactly. The leader tested him again. Did he need more? Had he finally proven his worth to the association? Brushing the pressure aside, the protagonist made his demand. Just open a B-rank gate for me. Marchand's jaw dropped. Are you insane? He stammered, claiming such a feat was currently impossible. Why the gatekeeping? Minchul pressed. Marchand explained that at B rank, the survival rate plummets instantly. These gates are war zones for high-tier loot. To prevent slaughter, the Union enforced strict entry requirements. The grind was massive, 40 D ranks and 30 C ranks. Minchul did the math, the scale was daunting. Even with a daily grind, it'd take 2 months. Too slow. Marchand hinted at a rare, dangerous shortcut. Minchul's eyes lit up with curiosity. What's the catch? He demanded, smelling a challenge. The trial defeat an elite A-rank hunter. Minchul smirked. They should have led with that. Later, he arrived at the Hunters Union, a global powerhouse with massive legal teeth. He checked on Ellie, asking if she was still salty. He'd ghosted her with those vultures yesterday. She wasn't worried, was she? She flashed a sharp smile, promising she wouldn't forget his disappearing act. The protagonist realized he was in the doghouse. Ellie's vibe made it clear she was still heated. Are you sure about this? She whispered. Despite his growth, an A-rank was still a different beast. It's not a deathmatch, he shrugged. He wasn't being cocky. He was just being realistic. His power wasn't just stats. It was a fusion of top-tier gear, grit, and past life memories. On paper, he was the underdog, but factoring in his hidden cheats, he had a winning hand. In the waiting room, a staffer broke it down. His future depended on this A-rank duel. So I just have to drop him to pass, Minchul asked, ready to get it over with. The staffer wheezed with laughter. Knock out an A-rank. You've got a killer sense of humor, kid. A judge would decide his fate. Minchul frowned, asking what the secret scorecard actually looked like. It was classified, leaving him irritated. Ellie leaned in, whispering the real metrics into his ear. They were tracking his raw talent, hair trigger reflexes, and how he clutched up under pressure. This was the true test. He nodded as the employee announced the arena was finally ready. The stage was set. Exam preparations complete, they signaled. It's time to step into the ring. The arena was a masterpiece, perfectly simulating the deadly atmosphere of an actual dungeon gate. He stepped onto the field, met by an opponent who had been eagerly anticipating his arrival. Minchul froze. Wait, you. Standing there was Sun-hee, wearing a grin that meant business. As the head of Association Defense and a veteran A-rank, he was the ultimate gatekeeper today. Rage flared in Minchul's eyes. He realized he'd walked straight into a calculated setup. Sun-hee told him to just play it cool, perform like usual, and the pass was guaranteed. Ready for a vibe check, Minchul smirked, confirming he was locked in. The duel was on. The official exam ignited instantly as the protagonist lunged forward, his blade screaming through the air. Confident and cold, Sun-hee frowned. He warned that everything in this world demands an equal price. He swung his spear with lethal intent. Minchul just laughed. Is that all? This is light work. A blinding flash erupted. In that split second, Sun-hee leaped, closing the distance like a predator. Can you actually parry this? He muttered, launching a relentless assault right at the protagonist's throat. Steel sang against steel as Minchul deflected every strike. This guy was faster than he looked. Who knew Sun-hee was hiding this kind of heat? His abilities were on a whole different level. Ellie watched the monitor, knuckles white with tension. She prayed Minchul could survive this trial by fire. Their blades clashed in a shower of sparks, the battle escalating into a symphony of high-stakes destruction. Sun-hee smirked, claiming he wasn't just for show, as his blade suddenly evaporated into thin air. He admitted he finally understood how the guy soloed that gate and gave him a mock round of applause. Stepping forward, the MC locked eyes with him, demanding he stop holding back and unleash his full power. Sun He blinked in confusion, but Min Chul turned cold, threatening to end the fight right then and there. Pure fury erupted as a terrifying pitch-black aura flared around him, sending shivers down his partner's spine. A heavy silence filled the air before Sun He stammered, trying to play it off as a simple misunderstanding. He couldn't grasp the source of this rage, since everything seemed fine, but Min Chul pressed him further. A misunderstanding. If that was his best, dodging wouldn't have been child's play. Sun He recoiled in total shock. Min Chul calculated the gap. Sun He's stats were nearly 4 times his own. With a disparity that massive, he stood zero chance. Yet, instead of fear, a burning rage took over. He tightened his grip, ready for war. Looking his foe in the eye, he snarled that being underestimated was unacceptable. He made it clear, this was his final warning to go all out. Panic set in as cold sweat poured down Sun He's face. Silence followed until Sun He realized talk was cheap. It was time to rejoin the fray with everything he had. He unsheathed his blade, prepping the 7 sword spell, a legendary technique that let him manipulate 7 blades at once. The system chimed, identifying it as the ultimate mastery over 7 weapons, allowing for unrestricted peak-level destruction. A wild grin spread across the MC's face. Now this was the proper way to kick off a real fight. To him, A-rank hunters were like insurmountable walls, but that was exactly why he lived to tear them down. Min Chul lunged forward, his blade igniting with a brilliant magical radiance as he closed the distance. In a blur, Sun He parried the strike and vanished, reappearing instantly behind him like a ghost. He stiffened, but reacted instantly, weaving through the lethal blows and dropping low. Sun He was visibly stunned by his reflexes. As the MC spun around, he spotted a shimmering blade tucked away inside Sun He's jacket. Min Chul realized his plan worked. He wasn't slipping up, he was just baiting out that hidden 4th sword. That tiny blade radiated insane pressure, proving just how monstrous Sun He's power truly was as a top-tier hunter. Why limit such talent to just swords? The air screamed as they traded blows, parrying with blinding speed. Sun He smirked, admitting the kid had been a constant source of shock over the last few weeks. Min Chul brushed it off, though the breakneck pace was starting to push his limits to the breaking point. His temper flared as he swung wide, only to freeze in his tracks, paralyzed by the sight before him. Sun He lunged with a devastating strike, white light engulfing everything as the symphony of clashing steel intensified. He was finally going all out. Min Chul figured if he could just endure the onslaught, he'd find an opening. Every pro makes mistakes eventually. Sun He stared him down, warning him to stay sharp if he wants to survive. Suddenly, an emerald magical blade manifested at his back. He froze, realizing he was caught in a lethal pincer move. There was no escape. The strike slammed directly into his chest, sending him hurtling into a nearby wall with bone-shattering force. Concrete exploded into fragments as he slumped over, buried in debris, while the settling dust masked his motionless body. Sun He approached to survey the damage, asking if the fight was finally over, but then the MC slowly rose. Sun He's jaw hit the floor. He knew that blow was lethal enough to tear an arm clean off. How was he still standing? Had he really triggered an explosion just to bail himself out of that deadly trap? Baffled by this monster in front of him, Sun He could only stare. Meanwhile, Min Chul was drowning in sheer agony. He was a bloody, bruised mess, but his desperate gamble to use the blast as a shield had actually paid off. Without his armor skill, his bones would be powder right now. Thankfully, he'd activated heavy armor just in time. This specialized magic from the Talos set burned through mana to drastically boost his physical damage negation. The plan worked, but it was a total tightrope walk. The stat gap between them remained absolutely astronomical. Closing his eyes, the MC knew he had to lock in, as blinding rays of magical light began to swirl, materialized around him. The system pinged, confirming his acquisition of the 7-star demonic sword, and he snapped his eyes open in pure shock. A sinister, shadowy mana surged forth, enveloping both his frame and Sun in an eerie glow. Danger flared in his gut. Sun grimaced, apologizing for not being at full throttle since he was missing his entire arsenal. Min Chul just smirked. Doesn't matter. This is plenty, he declared, leveling his blade right at his foe. Sun blurred, evading and counter-swinging while roaring about, reaching his zenith. But our hero was already locked in. He triggered the 7-star demonic sword's first form. Unleashing the sword of destruction, he sent Sun flying back. Sun froze in disbelief, his mind reeling. Sudden bursts of lethal radiance from the impact shattered against his face, forcing a scream of agony. His blade disintegrated into worthless shards. He spun around, paralyzed by the spectacle. Min Chul grinned, basking in his absolute dominance as he stared Sun down. Sun stumbled back as searing light beams shredded his defenses, making him literally crumble. Total shock gripped him. He gripped his final remaining blade, knowing a single strike wouldn't cut it. In that case, he spat. Planning to burn his leftover cosmic energy, his words died as a torrent of crimson spilled from his lips. Coughing uncontrollably, he collapsed while his rival also sank to one knee, exhausted. Muscles spasming from fatigue, both warriors groaned as the lethal exchange finally ceased. Right then, the doors burst open. Ellie rushed in, panicking. "Hunter Minchell, are you hurt? What happened here?" With a weary grin, Minchell claimed victory. Sun scoffed, insisting the win was his if he had brought his full gear. An awkward beat of silence followed, as both men sat there physically wrecked and trembling. Spontaneous laughter broke the tension. A confused Ellie watched as Minchell pressed, "So what is the verdict, Sun?" Sun beamed, confirming he had cleared the exam. Fast forward, a brilliant new dawn broke over the city. Perched atop a massive skyscraper, our hero trained hard. 3 days had vanished since the trial. Snapping out sharp strikes and testing his agility, he checked his stats. He assumed he had fully healed from the previous carnage. Now, the B-rank Tundra Gate was calling his name. It was a massive 5-kilometer zone, infested with yetis, snow golems, and ice trolls. The timer for breakthrough. Read 25 hours and 17 minutes. Ellie worried. "Are you seriously heading in there right now?" He needed medical attention, yet here he was, bypassing inspections to dive back into the fray. "Where are you going? This is a B rank." Gate Minchell just zipped up his parka unfazed. "Told you I don't need doctors. The ancient heavenly art is literally rebuilding my biology." Every injury and recovery cycle just boosted his raw power and speed to insane levels. He had delayed the raid briefly, but his battle instincts were screaming for action the moment he felt better. Soon the portal shimmered open. Stepping through a soul-chilling frost hit him instantly. His squad warned him. This place was a deep freeze hell. Fellow hunters huddled together, teeth chattering in the sub-zero wind. They stared at Minchell, who wasn't even shivering. "The breeze. It is actually pretty refreshing," he joked. Cosmic energy granted him insane frost resistance. He actually felt like ditching his jacket entirely. It felt useless anyway. The team begged him to keep it on. The temperature was about to plummet further. Minchell halted. "Hey guys, anyone want to lend a hand?" The hunters chimed in, suggesting a base camp to prevent their stats from tanking in the cold. Minchell nodded, giving them the green light. As he went to scout, they warned him to play it safe. He waded through massive snowdrifts that seemed endless. This B-rank gate was proving to be way more massive than the blueprints suggested. "Where are the mobs?" Just then, a behemoth erupted from beneath the powder, snow exploding everywhere. It let out a bone-rattling roar. Our hero snapped into a combat stance, scanning the threat. A massive yeti. Stats 120, strength 110, agility and 110 constitution. 90, stamina plus blessing of cold and camouflage. Minchul smirked. "So that is where you were hiding." The beast launched itself into the sky. "You really think you can hide with that build?" he mocked. Absurd. Suddenly, the yeti materialized at his six. He whirled around, every muscle coiled like a spring. Manifesting a radiant magic arrow, he parried the blow. The pressure was on. This was a high-rank zone after all. It was barely a warm-up. With a single flash of the Five Tigers technique, he cleaved the beast right in half. This felt way too easy. After erasing the monster from existence, he ventured deeper into the shadowed heart of the forest. Suddenly, the system dinged. He'd gained 2.7% experience, over 5 times more than his original estimate. Minchell realized the mobs weren't anything special, but the payout was 10 times higher. His math was finally adding up. Entering a higher rank gate was definitely the right move. He'd have to find a way to thank Marchand later. Back at the Hunters Association, Sung-hee marched straight into the director's office and slapped down a resignation letter. The director stared, completely blindsided. Bowing deeply, Sung-hee apologized. He was no longer the reckless rookie he used to be. He had evolved from a hero wannabe into a real professional, yet now he was just quitting, 10 years of partnership gone. The boss demanded a real explanation for this sudden exit. Sung-hee sighed, admitting it was a long, complicated story. It all started a few days ago during the exam, when he met Minchell. "Wait," the director paused. "That guy, the one who soloed the gate breach?" Sung-hee nodded. On paper, Minchell was nothing more than a lowly rank E, yet he'd crushed a dimensional rift all by himself. Despite the massive gap in their official rankings, Sung-hee knew he was completely outclassed. After their lopsided duel, Minchell had proven he was in a league of his own. Minchell had humbled the overconfident hunter, redefining the true path of a warrior just 3 days post-exam. Offering a firm handshake, Sung-hee admitted he'd severely misjudged him. Minchell just shrugged it off like it was nothing. Sung-hee gave a wry laugh, acknowledging the lesson. "You're planning to climb even higher, aren't you?" "Count on it," Minchell smirked. Sung-hee vowed to close the gap between them no matter what it took. Minchell encouraged him to grind hard, though privately, he wondered if catching up was even humanly possible. Every hunter eventually hits a ceiling they can't break. But for Minchell, conventional limits simply didn't exist. In that moment, Sung-hee looked his boss in the eye and declared his hunger for absolute power. It wasn't just a dream, it was a necessity. To truly evolve, he had to face the tower's deadly trials. Staring into Sung-hee's intense burning gaze, the director was convinced his subordinate had finally lost his mind. That massive relic from the first cataclysm offered godlike strength but only to those willing to gamble their lives. Sung-hee was already at his peak. There was zero reason for him to risk a suicide mission in the tower. Frustrated, the director snatched the paper and ripped it to shreds. Sung-hee froze, completely stunned by the reaction. "I'll pretend I never saw this," the director barked. "Go take a vacation and get some rest." He tossed the scraps aside, urging him to return with a clear head. Sung-hee's brow furrowed in silent frustration. Fine. He'd take the break, but he'd be back soon. He bowed out, leaving the director sighing in relief. "Don't forget the souvenirs," the boss yelled. Sung-hee shouted back a yes, but his mind was already miles away. He knew Minchul was out there tirelessly advancing toward godhood. There was no way he was standing still. Day 3 of the Rank B gate raid. With only 40 hours until a breakthrough, he had to kill the boss. Monsters would keep flooding out unless the leader fell. As long as he managed the herd, the gate stayed stable. It was the ultimate farming spot. The system pinged constantly as his experience bar surged to new heights. After wiping the floor with the mobs, he finally hit level 15. As he bifurcated the final beast, a chilling notification appeared. A hidden power had awakened within him to search for soul traces. He stared in shock. 2 legendary skills had unlocked Charm Power and Hellfire Power. What kind of insane loot was this? Youngjin noticed his strange expression and checked in. "I'm fine," he lied. "Let's just take a quick breather." The power of sin. Hidden deep within the Pandemonium Abyss lies the legendary castle known as the Hall of Sins. It's the seat of the 72 demonic nobles beings of terrifying authority who rule from their dark thrones. They wield the authority of sin, a godlike strength, a power he once commanded in his past life. As a mere human now, these demonic gifts should be unreachable. But these specific authorities, they weren't even his. Hellfire belonged to the demon Grangeo, a terrifying flame capable of incinerating everything in its path. He was the rank 11 terror. Then there was Seraphine, the rank 55 demoness, with her lethal charm. Her authority of charm could enslave the strongest minds, turning anyone into a mindless, loyal puppet. He had slaughtered them both in the past. Did that mean he was now harvesting their very essence? Imagine stealing the ultimate skills of everyone you've ever slain. Faced with a choice, our hero didn't even have to blink. A dark smirk played on his lips as he weighed his options. Suddenly, the system interface flickered to life. Hellish levitation was officially locked in. The power fused with his soul, merging raw physical might with pure abyssal energy. The ability crystallized into a spark of the abyss, causing a menacing crimson aura to erupt from his chest. "What is this?" he muttered, eyes widening. He gripped his chest as his shock transformed into a cold, satisfied grin. Another evolution. He was itching for a test drive, and as luck would have it, a target appeared perfectly on time. A pack of monsters was closing in fast. Grinning like a madman, he beckoned them closer with a mocking wave. He dared them to lunge. The Yetis roared with primal fury, leaving him momentarily stunned by their sheer aggression. Time to see what Minchul was truly capable of. Reborn into a fragile human shell after his world collapsed, everything had changed. He now possessed the legendary power of sin. As the beasts lunged, he ignited hellfire, burning through 150 mana. With a casual flick of his wrist, chaos erupted. The system confirmed the birth of abyssal flames, a blend of light and shadow. These flames shifted according to his darkest desires. Even he was shocked to find he could wield the devastating hellfire. But what was illumination curiosity took over, as he unleashed the mysterious skill to obliterate the nearest beast. The monster's agonizing shriek echoed through the air. Infused with demon Grangio's essence, the flames clung to the target, burning relentlessly. As long as his mana held out, the target would incinerate, just like he remembered. Then the unexpected happened. The Yeti was reduced to a charred skeleton in seconds. The surrounding pack froze in terror at this divine display of power. The remaining monsters charged in a blind panic. Minchul knew he had to seize this opening and master his new arsenal. He focused his palms, radiating a brilliant gold light. It was ironic, a former demon lord now channeling celestial radiance. Wielding divine light felt strange yet exhilarating. He decided to fuse his illumination skill with something even darker. He combined it with the abyssal spark, detonating a wave of blinding yellow energy that swept across the entire battlefield. Divine energy usually purges evil rather than striking it, but it served as a massive physical buff for his human body. He tore through the monster ranks like a whirlwind. Within seconds, the snowy field was littered with frozen corpses. He crushed them with effortless grace. It was effective, but his demonic soul felt a primal shiver from using holy power. Chills raced down his spine. Suddenly, he came to a dead halt, his jaw dropping as a massive realization hit him. This power belonged to the archangel he'd slain in his previous life. He truly inherited the skills of every soul he reaped. Race didn't matter, this was a total cheat code. Though a brawler at heart, Minchul realized his raid potential just skyrocketed. Now, he even possessed a ranged skill called Blessing. He stood amidst the carnage, processing the absurdity of his new kit. Having had his fill of the hunt, it was time to face the boss and shut this dungeon down for good. He eyed the towering peak ahead. Meanwhile, a demon and an ice spirit were creeping toward his defenseless teammates. Staffs held high, the intruders loomed. His friends spun around, screaming in terror at the sudden deadly ambush. Minshul unleashed a burst of mana, his voice cold. Going after the support team first, how predictable, he spat. A smart strategy, but doomed to fail while he was standing. Without another word, he lunged into the fray. He carved a path through the monsters, their cries of agony filling the air. Finally, he reached the foot of the mountain. The landscape itself seemed to tremble. He told his crew to hang back and catch their breath while he handled business. "You're taking on a B-rank boss solo?" Yang asked, trembling. Minshul didn't even hesitate with his confident response. Retreat wasn't in his vocabulary. "Just don't die," Yang pleaded, knowing their lives were now entirely in his hands. His other teammate called out his name through tears. Minshul offered a confident smirk, promising he'd be right back. He vanished into the dark cavern, coming face to face with a behemoth. "Just one human," the monster sneered. "Just me," Minshul replied coolly. This was the chieftain Nono. The beast grinned, mockingly, questioning the hero's sanity. Nono activated his slave summon, calling forth a wall of minions. They swarmed around their master, ready to kill. "Kill the intruder," the boss roared. As the circle closed in, Minshul just sighed, looking entirely unimpressed by the numbers. "You brought these weaklings to stop me," he mocked. "Big mistake." With a smirk, he cast a deceptive cloud spell. The minions faltered, confused by the shifting mists. Seizing the moment, Minshul unleashed his devastating mountain splitter technique. Despite the carnage, the boss held on to hope until one guard gathered a lethal mana blast in its gaping maw. Minshul unleashed a wall of infernal hellfire, shielding himself as the enemy's spells crashed uselessly against the flames. When their raw powers clashed, a blinding shockwave ripped through the air before a deafening silence consumed the battlefield. A trail of mangled monster corpses lay in his wake. Seething with rage, the boss spat, "You freak," while rising. Minshul smirked, asking if he'd finally seen the light. Nonon just growled back, vowing to end the short brat personally. Nonon launched himself into the sky, but Minshul read him easily, effortlessly leaping over the villain's head to counter. Clinging to the beast's spine, Minshul mocked his reckless charge. The monster froze. It never expected such a sudden, lethal turn. Minshul was tossed aside, but the monster let out a blood-curdling shriek. Our hero just stared him down with confidence. He landed a brutal blow right on the crown. Nonon hissed, cursing the short freak for daring to touch him.